Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
After a second consecutive season ending in the Western Conference Finals, the Minnesota Timberwolves are entering a period of change for the franchise. After the Rudy Gobert trade that on paper was supposed to suppress their ability to add talent and thrive in a conference full of budding stars. Instead, Minnesota went from an afterthought to one of the best teams in the West. A 42-40 speed bump season allowed the Wolves to develop cohesion, and thanks to the rise of Anthony Edwards, the Wolves spent the last two seasons knocking on the door with back-to-back Final Four slots. Entering the 2025 season, the threat of falling back within the pack looms for the Wolves if they can't secure their cure and probably find another piece or two to get them over the hump. Amongst one of the worst free agency classes in recent memory, it is the Minnesota Timberwolves that find to offer the most fruit in the class. Forward Julius Randle has a player option worth $30.9 million, while backup big man Naz Reid has a player option of his own at $15.2. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is their next biggest free agent at $4.3 million. All three were key pieces to the team's success, and how Minnesota plans to navigate their offseason will be key to their future. Randle, the team's second leading scorer this past season, feels like the one most likely to return. It took time for him to adjust after the offseason trade from New York, but he found effective balance as a scorer and defender when locked in on the perimeter. He even clipped his playoff demons, averaging 21.7 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 4.9 assists on 62% true shooting in 3 rounds. Entering his age 31 season, I find Randle to be in the perfect place for his game. There will always be record scratches in his game offensively, but his playmaking and shooting has worked well off the gravity of Anthony Edwards. Defensively, he waxes and wanes a bit, but having Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert alongside him allows him to become a bit of a force multiplier on that end when locked in, and his ability to shuffle on the perimeter and pester defenders allows him to become an above-average defender as a power forward. With a 6-Man-a-Year award in his cabinet and increased scoring the past season, I'm curious to see what the league thinks of Naz Reid. The bowling ball-like ability offensively has resulted in several significant games for Reid, allowing him to create his own lane offensively. Add in his outside shooting into the mix and the fact that he's entering his age 26 season, and you have one of the more interesting free agents on the market. I'm curious, again, to see what the league thinks of Reid. There's an argument that he's a perfect for a team that needs another big man, albeit one that can stretch the floor. With 2+ seasons of over 400 attempts from 3 and above average shooting, I think several teams should be interested in him. The Detroit Pistons have already been linked to him via Real GM, but will other suitors jump in? I don't see the potential for the market to get too crazy for him, but you truly never know. Where Randle feels like a lock to return and the next player on this list feels like a lock to leave, Reid feels like something that can go either way due to his combination of skills and age. Regardless, look for Reid to get a decent bump financially this offseason. Lastly, we have Nickeil Alexander-Walker. After early stops in New Orleans and Utah, Alexander-Walker found stability with the Wolves, becoming a valuable bench wing who does things well enough. A good defender, a decent floor spacer, and can mix it up on both sides of the ball, enough to provide some intrigue, whether it be a moderate self-creator or a weak side shot blocking threat. As a result, it'll be interesting to see who ponies up for the 26-year-old Canadian wing. He, at the very least, will double his $4.3 million salary from the previous season. I think you can live with Alexander Walker as a fifth starter, but asking for more is a bit much at this stage in his career. In a world where the San Antonio Spurs make a leap and trade for one of Giannis Antetokounmpo or Kevin Durant, I can totally see Alexander Walker being one of their get-back guys at the end of free agency just to secure their starting lineup. The issue is he struggles from there with his free agent suitors. Somebody like Sacramento makes sense for him from a talent perspective, but I don't think you want to go to the Kings right now. The Atlanta Hawks make sense, but does he move the needle enough for them in the Eastern Conference? The Clippers are interesting if they want to open up cap space and go in a different direction. The Chicago Bulls, in theory, have the cap space to sign him. By proxy of being a 26-year-old wing-sized player, I think someone will open up space to sign Alexander Walker to a contract. But the path right now is a bit muddy. Could that be Minnesota's opening to re-sign him to a proper deal? Only time will tell. We talked about the Wolves retaining their current nucleus of talent, but can the Wolves externally improve their team? And I think the name is Kevin Durant. Durant's an obvious name and the pieces are there. To me, it's something around McDaniels, Randall, a draft pick. Maybe you start discussing players like Rudy Gobert, Dante DiVincenzo. Maybe Minnesota could take back a Vasily Micic, his contract, and help him be a backup point guard for the team. Maybe Cody Martin as another bench forward at the bottom of the rotation. Still, if the Wolves want to decide to roll the dice one more time, similar to the Rudy Gobert trade, I think moving pieces for the former NBA MVP, pairing him with Edwards on offense, is the push they need to remain, in theory, title contention. Regardless of what happens this offseason, the Minnesota Timberwolves feel right there, and even with the Oklahoma City Thunder buzzsawing through the conference, the Wolves have the moves to make to remain in the race. Outside of Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and a just turning 30 Julius Randle, everyone is under the age of 30, and that doesn't include the likes of Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr., two players drafted just 12 months ago. In a span of 12 months, the Wolves went from a team that was up and coming to a team well within their window. With one of the better franchises in tow, one of the better front offices in tow, one of the best young players on the roster, a key defensive stud, and several contracts that could be balanced into a star player, it remains to be seen whether or not Minnesota can take their talent and turn it up another level, or if they can just merely keep the ball rolling.